Hey guys, this is William Hope, and I play Mikhail in Resident Evil 3, and you are listening to the Residents of Evil podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. My guest today is William Hope, and he plays Mikhail in Resident Evil 3. How you doing, Bill?
Yeah, pretty good, Jeff. Great to hear from you. All locked up. Here we are, hunkered down. We had a great time to record a podcast and just have yak online. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Good time to play the game, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for people who are not completely familiar with your career, you've had a very long and awesome career. A lot of highlights that I like. Can you kind of introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, well, guys who are game players probably won't even remember me, know me, because I go way back. Mm-hmm. I actually grew up in Canada on the East Coast quite a lot, and I came to London to start a stage career and learn acting for theater many, many years ago, and was working in London and Canada a lot in theater, and then started to get movies. And I guess the very first big movie that I did was a film called The Aliens, James Cameron's very first big movie. And, you know, that's a long time ago now. Some people go, oh, my God, aliens. But a lot of other people just haven't come across it. I mean, it's pre-digital, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a lead role. I played Lt Gorman in Jim Cameron's Aliens. And that kind of got me kicked off into movies. And I started doing quite a bit more TV and film and stuff. So if you go to IMDb, you can look. I've got hundreds of stuff on there. We can talk about some of it as you go along. And then over the years, I've also started getting into voice stuff. I do cartoons and all kinds of things. And then in the last, 5 years or something, 6, maybe 7, I've started to do quite a lot of mocap. And that's just sheer fluke. And Resident Evil, when they asked me to play Mikhail and another character whose name is escaped, Nathaniel Hart, crazy scientist in RE3 Nemesis, we got to go to shoot in Tokyo. And it was like a no-brainer. I just thought, oh my God, I've never been to Tokyo. For anybody who wants to go, or you can't go now, but later on, an amazing place. So, I've been doing lots of TV, film, theater. I still do quite a bit of theater and lots of voice stuff, all kinds of things. I'm really a lucky actor. I've been doing it all my life. And I work across all mediums, which is pretty lucky, actually.
So you spent a lot of time in TV and movies before you got into the voice side of things. How did you move into the voiceover side of the career?
Well, it's kind of, the way when I first began, really it was theater. I was focusing on theater, and theater has to do with using your voice. I mean, theater is very different from camera work in that you got a long rehearsal and you got to sustain performances, consecutively every night, like 8 times a week for months, sometimes, maybe even sometimes a year. And that is really technically very strenuous and difficult. So you got to really know how to use your voice. So particularly in Britain, there is a huge tradition and culture of radio, which apart from PBS, stateside, North America, I suppose you could say there's a resurgence podcast, stuff like that. But so all actors who train in theater got to know how to use their voices. And I was asked many years ago now to do recorded books, audiobooks.
Right, yeah.
And I would audition for voiceovers and stuff. And some people say, oh, my God, I'd love to. I was actually a member of the BBC Radio Drama Company many years ago. And we used to do 3 or 4, sometimes 5 radio drama or comedies each week. And I mean, that's like a bygone day. But so I've been using my voice in all those disciplines for a long time. And really, unless you're seriously famous or you suddenly get slotted into one particular aspect of the industry, the name of the game is survival. So you got to survive. And what that means is you got to, learned to juggle a lot of balls, a lot of, strings to your bow.
Right.
So voice I've been doing for years, but in all kinds of different ways. I mean, radio drama, audio books or talking books, voiceovers, cartoons, and then this mocap thing has just started to kick off. Who knows why? So, audition. People say, come on, audition, do this. And so I've done, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 pretty high-profile things in the last 5 years. Mocapping, a lot of different characters, and then the voice side on top of that. So that's kind of how it happened to me.
You think radio drama should come back and start becoming more popular again? I kind of miss that.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, if you go back to, what I mean by Orson Welles, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Orson Welles got famous by doing hugely provocative radio broadcasts, and I think you're talking about pre-television, right?
Right.
When TV was kicking off, black and white, probably 50s.
Yeah.
The radio, everybody, the whole family was around the radio. And in this country, in Britain, the radio is still very popular. I mean, there's a whole millions and millions of people tune into the radio for all kinds of different programs. I guess PBS is kind of the nearest thing.
Right.
Stateside. And what it does, it's a kind of hotbed for writers. But will it come back? I think it's starting to. It's the podcast thing. I mean, I have just finished a really interesting project. I can't even talk about it because they haven't announced it. But do you know what I mean by Audible?
Yeah, Audible books.
Yeah, yeah, Audible books. So Audible is like the world's biggest distributor of the spoken word.
Right.
And just in the last, what did we say, maybe 10 years, it's starting to take off like crazy. Talking books, whether you're commuting to work or, you fly around the world, people are much more open and ready to listen to a whole range of podcasts and recorded material. So I have just done this huge project, which I think is going to be announced this month. But with the coronavirus, I don't know what's might have screwed up their timing a bit. But anyway, what they're getting into is very big episodic dramas. So you might be talking 10, 20 hours of episodic audio stuff.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is one of the very big classic DC classics. And that's about all I can tell you.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to say that I play a great character as a complete freaking maniac.
Sounds really interesting.
Really full of humor, and he's a real DC guy. Yeah, so it's good. So that's going to come out soon, but I can't talk anymore.
All right, we'll have to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
We talked about how you kind of transitioned to the mocap with the industry as well for voiceover work. And, you did a grant for The Walking Dead, Overkill. That's one of my favorite trailers. For when they started introducing that game, that was the first thing that caught my attention, is these trailers are very cinematic and they really put you in the universe, which is something that I like because zombies are my thing. And Grant was one of the best ones because, he's that grandfather that's just looking for his grandchildren and his kids, and he wants to save them. But at the same time, he's not going to, let this world beat him down. He's just casually having this conversation with the zombie in the car. It was really, really great scene.
Man, those guys, Goodbye Kansas is the name of the production company. They're based out of, I think they're global, but these guys are based out of Sweden. And so if you look up Goodbye Kansas, they have a YouTube clip, or I think on their website, of the making of the grant. And it's just incredible. The artistry and the craftsmanship and the huge teamwork that goes into making a cinematic video game trailer. I mean, I think that's where we're getting to. You know more about games than I do, I'm sure. But, the technology is happening so fast and it's moving so rapidly towards almost being indistinguishable from real actors. Or you thinking, and at times with the Grant trailer that I'm in, you go, is this a movie? And you think, did they shoot this? And you think, no, this is computer generated. The thing that gives it away, of course, is the eyes of the characters and, but tiny details like facial, but it's incredible. And anyway, the making of the Grant trailer, I'm not sure it's on YouTube, maybe. Anyway, Goodbye Kansas Studios is the one to look at. And we had a gas making that. I mean, it was really what I love. You know, I'm an actor by training, and it's what I love to do. And I like to do as many different things as I can. But we actually had a chance to rehearse, to improvise, I think it took us, I don't know, I want to say 3, 8, 10-hour days just working solid to come up with that.
Wow, just for the trailer.
Yeah, for the monologue and the narrative for the introduction to the character. And I think I had the most. I don't know why we ended up, because we had a gas and it was really good. And so we came up with this terrific monologue. And
it was great. And compared to the other trailers that were released, yours was the one that was really just pretty much all monologue.
Yeah, which is, that's the thing. My feeling as an actor, as an audience, somebody who goes, I want to get interested in people, and I want to follow characters, and I want to, root for people or hate them. Ooh, you want to go, and you want the good guys to win, or maybe you want the bad guys to win. But the point is, you're invested and hooked in these people, and that has to do with writing and character-led structure. And I think video games are only just kind of seriously starting to get into that properly. I mean, of course, it's action-based and special effects, and it's fun, and it's your keyboard skills and all that stuff, or your PS4 skills. But the point is that, we got a bit of it in RE3, Nemesis. The Russian commander, we get some background, so he's giving narrative, but you don't have a whole lot of dialogue, right? I haven't. Have you played the game?
I've played through it a couple times. There is a lot of dialogue, but the game is pretty well paced between a short 5-minute or less, probably cutscene, and then gameplay. So the dialogue, they're not these extensively long parts, and there are some longer parts where where like Neil gets to kind of chew up the scenery a little bit as Nikolai. But most of them are pretty quick, just enough to move the story along.
So what's your experience as a gamer, a player? What gets you excited? What do you want to see develop? I'm
a very story-driven person. I like the narrative. I love a game that has a very captivating story that makes me think about it after I'm done playing it. And there's a lot of games that do that now. We've got games that are these franchises where there's very complex stories, like the Metal Gear series or The Last of Us, which is another post-apocalyptic game that's very, very story-driven. It's a really, really amazing story, too.
And what's the big one I want to really look? Came out in Scotland. Rock and roll. No, what is it? Red Dead
Redemption. Is that the one? Yeah, the Western?
That looked terrific. I mean, really looked
it was beautiful. That game, just being in the game was absolutely amazing because the world was designed with such detail and passion. It's just a beautiful, beautiful game. And the story is beautiful as well.
Yeah.
It's a redemption story.
I think that's what actors are into. That's what audiences are into. The more you can get emotionally involved, the more pleasure. Anyway, that's my take.
Yeah, definitely. So how different from the other projects you've worked on between voiceover and mocap in the last few years here, how different was it between them to Resident Evil 3?
I think slightly connected to what we've just been talking about. For instance, I had worked for Andy Serkis at Imaginarium doing, at the same time as he was mocap directing War of the Planet of the Apes. We were doing the video game.
Yeah.
I played a rancher. What's his name? I think it was Luke. So I was a rancher who was going up against the apes and set in the Wild West. It might be Colorado. It kind of looked like Colorado. But the point is, we had to rehearse scenes. We had a lot of dialogue. We had a narrative, as well as the action stuff and the battle and the very physical stuff, guns and weapons and fights and all that, horseback riding. But at the same time, we had to rehearse kind of like a theater company. There was a lot of words. So that is one way of doing it, that your narrative in places is incredibly involved and character-led. And then you've got the pure action. And I guess RE3 in Tokyo, we had some, actually, my two characters had quite a bit of dialogue, but the rest of the guys, it's really just creating the furniture and the, staging of how are we actually going to make this work and happen. And that in itself, for an action fight sequence, whatever, that's very technical. You got to get it right, and then you go, right, are we ready to go? 1, 2, 3, and you put all your feeling into it and all the action. So most of the time for video games, you spend a lot of time focusing on how to get the action absolutely looking and flowing just the way you want.
Mm-hmm.
To make it exciting, to make it real, to make it all these things. Whereas sitting around and talking about character and rehearsing dialogue, that's very different, or a different aspect. And so for RE3, we had a mixture. We did it, yeah. We had a couple of, it didn't take that long. I was in Tokyo for maybe, I don't know, 6 days on 2 occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big company. There was a lot of people. And also, it's so many people are involved. I mean, in the room, in the volume, I guess we might have had 35 people, 40 people every day. And like 5 actors. Or, 40 people and plus 5 actors.
Right. And then so all the gear.
Process.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. That's a lot of people. I didn't actually, I don't think I've ever considered how many people were in the volume at the same time when you guys are working.
Yeah.
I always, obviously we've got the actors for the scene. We've probably, we got the director and a few other people around there, but 40 people, that's a lot.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much technical stuff is needed. Yeah.
So how familiar were you with Resident Evil and the character of Mikhail?
Well, I certainly knew of Resident Evil because it's one of the big names, right? And it's I know it's not a huge global following, but because I'm not a young guy, I was having kids when video games were coming out, so I didn't have time to sit around. I think it's funny because when you talk to people who've been in the big gamers or they design games, and I say, my question to a lot of people, so do you play a lot? Are you a gamer? And they go, oh, no, that was like 10 years ago before I got married, before I had kids.
Right.
Because who's going to have 6 hours a day to sit in the basement or,
Right.
So what was the question? So I have never been a gamer because actually when all of computers and computer games started to happen, I was busy working and other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Making films, I was doing theater. I had no time to sit around and think, oh, wow, what's this doing? What's this like? I had to get a computer for work, but I don't think I ever had the time or breathing space due to my work and family to sit down. And I was just aware of it from, nieces, nephews, younger family members, or friends who were younger who were going, oh, my God, the games are getting so amazing. So I've never entered that universe as a player. So I just know it by reputation. Right. And I see walkthroughs, you go on YouTube and you watch people play it and comment, and it looks, it's amazing. But not happily, it's just the way it is. I'm busy doing other stuff just because I'm older. I never got into it as a teenager or a kid.
So what kind of information did they give you on the character when they cast you? Since you weren't really familiar with them, what did they tell you who Mikhail was?
It's kind of, they just, I did a bit of, looked up the Resident Evil universe and kind of knew it. I mean, really, for experienced actors, all you have to say, okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The military's been called in. Mikhail's a mercenary, or he's a member of the squad that are trying to get the people out of the city. He happens to be Russian. They give you a basic background. And because, no offense intended, it isn't Tolstoy. It's not, it's not a heavily detailed, dramatic narrative. It's basically get the guys out of the city, avoid Nemesis, and let's follow the main characters we love. So if you're an experienced actor and you get your basic environment, you think, okay, yeah, I got it. And then you start rehearsing, working on through the text. And then when you get on your feet into the volume and you're rehearsing with people, that's when you can start pulling out details and saying, well, what happens here? And can we do this? And basically, if you're experienced, you adjust. And it's you learn to work very fast. Because, I've put on uniforms and guns and for a long time. So I'm not a stranger to that.
Have you done a Russian accent before?
Just kind of, minimally here and there. And Steve, the director, said, this is all going to be going on the accent. It's going to drive it. He rang me and said, can you do a Russian accent? I said, yeah, of course I can do a Russian accent. Maybe. So I went and did a lot of practice and tracked down real Russians and, watched Russian characters in movies. And then I trained up my ear, and then I did a self-tape kind of video sent to the guys in LA and Tokyo, and he came back and said, "Great, you got the best accent." That's oh, good. But because I've been doing accents for years, and it just so happens, sometimes you find them are tricky, but the Russian one, it was really, and it's very dramatic sound. It's terrific. I'd love to do another Russian. No, but he was cool. Yeah.
He has a pretty epic end of the series, both in the original and the remake, and it's very similar with another character you played that we talked about, Lt Gorman from Aliens. Yeah. They both went out with a bang.
Yeah.
Kind of buying their team some time and protecting the people that they're with. So, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Who had the better end there, Mikhail or Lt Gorman?
Well, come on. I mean, there's like a no contest. I personally think, the whole meaning of the word masterpiece comes out of medieval times, where the guilds, the workmen guilds, you join up as a apprentice, and then you become a journeyman, then you become a junior craftsman, then you become a craftsman, and when it was time to become a master, you'd have to present all of your peer group and colleagues with your masterpiece. And all the masters would judge, whether you're a carpenter or whatever, and you'd say, "Here's my masterpiece." And they would go, "Looks pretty good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'd say you're a master." And Aliens, I think, was probably one of James Cameron's masterpieces. So for those of you who haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I mean, the most amazing thing is that it's over 30 years old, this movie, and it still holds up. And they say no horses were harmed making this movie. No computers were used in the making of this movie. Even
though they're all over the set.
Yeah, it's pre-computer, which is just awesome. That 30 years later, it still plays. I think it's still voted, what is it, best sequel ever made? Beats out Die Hard or Godfather or any of these. Anyway, so the point I'm making is it was just awesome, like being part of an Olympic team making of Aliens. And so it took us 4 months working every single day, 250 people a day on set. And so it's a bit of a different ballgame.
Yeah. I love Aliens.
I have to say, just kind of edges out. But
I guess on the scale of who's more important in like the history of movie and pop culture, Lt Gorman's probably a little bit higher on that list.
Yeah. It was a gas.
That's one of my all-time favorite movies, so I love that movie.
Yeah. Plus, it was real. I was real. And in the volume with Mikhail, it's all you're pretending.
Right. You got to imagine what you're doing. Whereas in Aliens, you're actually in the set. You see things around you. You can really get into it. And I love Aliens for that too, because back then, CG wasn't really the pushing thing. It was barely kind of getting started with some effects, and you see that in the movie. But so much of it is realistic, and like the aliens, the xenomorphs, and the cast, the location, everything. It's just something about that movie has always stuck with me. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's it's terrific. I think what it is that you see the hard work. I mean, you see the masterpieces of the puppeteers, the robotics people.
Yes.
When I first read the script, I thought, this is just an amazing script, but how are they going to do, a spaceship crashing through the atmosphere and bursting into flames at your feet? I mean, what is it going to be like? What was that famous puppet series? Like Star Wars. What's it called? Oh, it's great. I thought, is this going to look really hokey and kind of cheesy? But no, with models and back sets, and even today, you're looking at it and you have to admire the ingenuity and the artistry and the sheer achievement of the people who the team who put that together. And it's Cameron's masterpiece. I mean, I don't know. What were we talking about?
Our love of the movie. I guess, what was it really like? I know you've kind of given some details about being on set and filming it, but 4 months, I've heard it was a pretty intense shoot and difficult at times, but what was that overall feeling like? What were some of the major things that stuck with you leaving that?
Well, I think, I think I'd done like maybe 2 movies before, and I'm doing all theater, and to walk into at that time, a huge budget blockbuster was slightly surreal. You're going, oh my God, this is it. This is the big time.
Mm-hmm.
And 250 people on set every day. And Jim and his then wife, Gail Ann Hurd, who was producing it, they were, they just made Terminator, the first Terminator with Arnie Schwarzenegger, which was, a nice little movie, $2 million.
Yeah, just a little movie.
and Fox, 20th Century Fox said, yeah, we like this movie. It's a nice little film. It's great, but it's not the big stuff. This is big. So unless you come in on time and on budget, we're going to come in and start ripping the pages out. And Jim and his wife Gail, who's producing, executive producer, who also made Terminator with Jim, knew that this was their ticket. If they could pull this off, they were made, because the script was just fantastic. And so they got the Terminator look in their eye. They were going to die rather than not have this go the way they wanted it. And in those days, Jim was completely unknown, and he knew everybody's job backwards and knew more than everybody else. And I think eventually, we haven't got time to cover it here, but it was tough. And in the end, every single person on that set came in not to screw around and have fun and, hey, we're making a movie. Everybody came in absolutely on point, ready to drive and do exactly their best at every single moment in the day. So it was really, I think I have to say, it was like being on an Olympic team. And I've never had an experience to surpass that movie. I am part of cinema history because of Jim Cameron.
Yeah, you look at that cast, and it really is everybody. I don't see a single person in that cast give a weaker performance at all. Everyone is at the top. They all just outshine and just do the best. It's really just great, and it really does parallel, in a way, the Colonial Marines from that, and then the UBCS guys. Your team from Resident Evil 3. A group of guys coming together. They're hardened, battle hardened, and wind up in a situation that they really are not prepared for. And have to get out of that situation, have to evacuate. So it's kind of interesting how they run, side by side, different universes, but very similar.
Yeah, very much. And they kind of, Jim invented, Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien, invented the genre, and then Jim took it and, put his own spin on it amazingly. But I remember thinking at the time, oh, wow, female Marines in combat. Wow, there's a concept.
Tough, too.
We've come so far. So much has changed in the world since that movie was made. But even so, I think that the biggest strength was that you had this wide range of characters, all these very different people, and you got a chance to get to know and like them all for very different reasons. And as you say, every single person was a completely, fully rounded, developed performance. And the casting was terrific. It was all the elements. It's a mystery why these things, come together into as close to a piece of perfection. But he got the golden bullet, Jim. But it's it's down to we all worked our butts off. There's no question. Yeah.
So even though Lieutenant Gorman didn't make it out of the movie, which we kind of discussed, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. It's been 30 years. Please go watch it. But you didn't leave Aliens. You kind of stayed in the Alien universe, which was absorbed the Predator universe. They kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. But you've actually been in a lot of the Aliens games, playing varieties of characters in different entries.
Yeah, I think it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's fluke, but probably not so from the producers. Thought, hey, wait a minute, doesn't he play Lieutenant Gorman? We'd love that in this game. And as I said before, an actor's career, unless you get lucky and you're seriously successful or you carve out a niche for yourself, it's about survival. It's about doing this, doing that. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that. In particular, I spent most of my career in London for a variety of reasons. Got an English wife and kids. So being in London is different from LA. And over here, actors do all kinds of different things all the time. Whereas in LA, it's getting a bit more like that. But it used to be that if you're in TV, you're in TV. You're in movies, you're movies, etc. And you're in rom-com, you do rom-com. You're action, you do action. It's things are mixing up a lot more now, no question. But so somebody said, "Do you want to do a game?" I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure." So I just happened to end up, and I think it's also going back to what we were saying that Ridley Scott and Cameron created a genre. So he created such a motif or an archetype that everybody wants to copy it or use it as a springboard into dramatic action. And I have to say, Aliens was probably the most, a psychological thriller action movie. And there must be, for those people who haven't seen it for the first time, it'll be interesting because, computers and stuff have made things way more slick now.
Right.
But you never knew. You think, oh my God, this is so tense. It's got to end. The movie's going to end. Oh no. And it just goes on and on and on and on. So he created that kind of structure. And it really suits the video game universe.
It does, yeah. It really does.
So they just make a lot of product. It's very successful. People love it. And, going to Comic-Cons or whatever, there are, grandchildren, great-grandparents come up and say, "Oh my God, I love this movie, blah, blah, blah." It's because the genre itself and the archetype of the invading alien is just so popular. So they made a lot of games and they go, "Oh my God, he played Gorman. Yeah, we can have him."
And then you just kind of wound up in them from then on. I mean, was there any kind of personal choice of yours along the way? I said, you know what, maybe I will do more of these because it keeps me tied to that. just completely coincidence.
I think it's a misnomer. I think it's an illusion. People want to interview people and say, "Why did you choose to go and do blah, blah?" Okay, if you're Tom Cruise, sure.
Yeah.
Or Tom Hanks, yeah, you can absolutely make decisions. But I think ask any actor of experience, and you're out there surfing. You're busking.
Right. Yeah.
Here comes the next wave. Whoa, let's do this. No, let's try this. Hey, how about that? And some of the more interesting jobs I've had, I just haven't seen it come out of left field. And suddenly I'm in Egypt, or suddenly I'm in, Tokyo, or suddenly I'm in. And plus also, we were talking earlier about families and kids and stuff. If you have a family, that takes up a lot of your energy and time. So it isn't a question of, strategically choosing what career path you're going to do. Although the more successful you get, the more you can exercise that choice. But I just look at a project, comes along, and I go, yeah, okay, let's do that. My diary's free. Yeah, let's do that. And I'm just, busking, really.
Was there any influence or anything that led you to be on Thomas and Friends? Because you've been with Thomas the Tank Engine and Thomas and Friends for a long, long time. But it's so different from the rest of your career because you've done a lot of movies and TV and games, but then there's this children's animated show that's been in there for a long stretch of your career.
Yeah. Well, it's hugely successful. It's global. I think it's the most successful cartoon kids show for under fives or something. I don't know. But the point is about Thomas is the scripts were terrific. And they were Hit Entertainment at the time, who were the guys who were, it's a spinoff of Thomas the Tank Engine, for those people who don't know, who don't have kids or whatever. So this was a new series. I think we started 2011. And they got a group of us together, maybe, I'm thinking 8 or 10 of us, and we all played like 3, 4, 5 characters. And we did vocal performances for the scripts, and then they animated to our performances to begin with. And then that took over. And really, since 2011, digital technology has gone through revolutions, and it's far more, the production line is way more streamlined and stuff. But the point is, we used to be 8 of us in the studio all day, and it was just a gas. It was so much fun. We made each other laugh. And, any actor who's played kids, you play characters for children, it's just really so silly and so high energy. And it gives you a chance to be a kid again. And it's just fun. We had a lot of fun. The scripts were great, and the money wasn't bad either. And I just thought, but it didn't take up a huge amount of time. I'd go in, 4 times a month, 5 times a month to do some sessions, do a day, do a couple of days. And you can't say no. You just think, yeah, I'd love it. But it's now gone really big. They got all those global names in there now. Anyway, the ball kept on rolling. I thought, yeah, I'll still play.
Yeah, and you've been with it all this time.
Absolutely.
It's a good paycheck. Reoccurring paycheck, you're getting it, it's steady work, it's something that's going to be there. Yeah, exactly.
That's the mortgage down.
That's the bills money right there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny because there's a lot of modding when the games come out. These community of people, these people who are programmers or they're just really familiar with game design, they go and they can mod these games and change the way characters look or put characters into games that weren't there. And something they like to do, which is pretty funny, is take the worst monster of the game and replace that monster with Thomas the Tank Engine, and he's always coming after you.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Thomas the Tank Engine's been in a lot of games. Yeah, he's been in a lot. Uh-huh.
How cool is that? Wow.
So I'm waiting for him to show up in Resident Evil 3 as Nemesis.
That's very cool. Yeah.
You have some interesting crossovers you didn't know about.
No kidding. Wow, that's very cool.
So how often do you go to conventions?
When they come up, when I've got time, when they fit in with the schedule of whatever I'm doing. And, well, I think conventions come in waves. Mm-hmm. And if you're in like a huge thing, like, I don't know, Game of Thrones or some massive current hit, Walking Dead, people always want to see those folks. Or if you're hot at the moment, if you're in things that are, I did Sherlock Holmes and I don't know, Hellraiser, and the kind of stuff I've done is the interest that people. It's not quite as in your face as Game of Thrones or whatever. So shows come up every now and again and they say, "Oh, great, sci-fi." So I don't know. I might do one a year kind of thing. But some years it's more, and some years it's U.S. or Far East, and other times it's just Europe. I don't know. It's pretty unpredictable, to be honest. I mean, I know some people do them all the time, but I only just started doing them a few years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, especially in the like you said, the pop culture type stuff. Game of Thrones and big shows like that. But in the voiceover world, there's definitely a lot of voiceover artists that go to conventions and they get to meet their fans and stuff, and it helps because as a voiceover artist, they don't see the face behind the character so much. They always hear the voice, but they don't know the person, which is why I like doing these interviews, because I get to connect the fans to the person behind the character.
Yeah, and I've only just found that out quite recently. I mean, you mentioned it, but that people say, "Oh my God, you're in Thomas." I go, "Yeah."
Yeah.
No, you don't understand. You've got to meet my grandmother. You've got to meet my, and the whole family's there because everybody, and you got young kids. Kind of like Pixar. I know all the Pixar films from when my girls were growing up, all the Toy Stories, and I adored them because you sit there with the kids, and it becomes a family event. It's very cool. I don't know, maybe that'll start popping up more people wanting to see me mash up Thomas and Friends with RE. I don't know.
It might. There's definitely, I know with our fan base, there's definitely a desire for to have the actors at the conventions. And it's something we talk about quite a bit. And we always tell the fans, if you want an actor to be at your convention, you have to tell your convention to ask them to come over. They don't go looking for people usually. You have to tell them who you want to see. So, maybe we can get the fans to bring you out. I know the cast of Resident Evil 2 Remake from last year, they had a couple shows they went to for conventions as a cast. So that might come up. I don't know what you guys are working on, but it's something to look out for, I guess.
Wow. Well, it's kind of out of my hands. It'd be, as you say, it's going to be the organizers of the Comic-Cons.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that sounds cool. Really interesting.
Yeah, I think you'd definitely be a good guest to have on board. You've got, your career, like you said, between Thomas and Aliens and the rest of your work. There's a lot of people that would line up for you.
Yeah, I actually, years ago when people said, "Oh, man, you should come do the Comic-Cons," I go, "Yeah, I don't know. I'd be busy doing other things." And I thought, I mean, some people love it, and don't get me wrong, but since I've been going to them, I have been blown away. I have to say, I mean, some of the stories, I had a major from the U.S. Marines in full uniform come up to me and say, "Mr. Hope, I have to thank you, sir, Forget Me Through Afghanistan and My Boys Through Desert Storm. We used to watch your show almost twice a week, 3 times a week. I'm going home tonight to watch it with my buddies. To just want to congratulate you on how you really truthfully played. How an LT got through is
Yeah.
And I'm standing there going, oh my God, Major, I am, but the gratitude, what you actually figure out by going to Comic-Cons is that it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
We do our bit in front of the camera, whatever. The audience do their bit in that they enjoy and want to inhabit and live in that universe, and it's a ball game. It's you play catch with each other. You throw it out there and it comes back, and it's a privilege, really.
Mm-hmm.
To do this, what we do, what I do, is a complete and utter privilege, and I feel humbled and very grateful when these people from all walks of life come up and go, oh my God, I can't tell you how long I've been enjoying blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And you go, oh, I'm so delighted to have been able to be part of giving you such pleasure and joy. It's a privilege.
I think you'll find something out now that you're part of the Resident Evil universe, that the fan base is very loyal and they love their actors, they love their characters. So your fan base definitely grew exponentially with this one. It's Resident Evil has some very passionate fans.
Wow.
Very loyal fans. I mean,
how cool.
Mikhail is just such a small character in the bigger scheme of the whole series and everybody that's come across. But even smaller characters like Kendo, which I don't know if you interacted with Kendo in this, the actor that played him. You guys are in different scenes, but he was a very small, very, very, very small part in the original game. Probably, less than 5 minutes. His character was eliminated. But there was such a love for this character who really had nothing to do with the game that they fleshed out and gave him a longer part, more significant part in the second one, brought him back for the third one.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's something like that. Someone so small, even Mikhail, who's not necessarily a small character, he's got a significant role to play in the game, but there's a big fan base for him. People love that character. Yeah.
He's in a million pieces.
Yeah.
From that, that's kind of a career hazard of mine. But
a reoccurring thing going on there.
We had a lot of fun doing, what's his name? Nathaniel Bard, the crazy asshole scientist. He was, he made me laugh. And
he made me laugh too. I loved his, he was intense. He was a very loud, intense guy.
He was a loud, intense asshole, and you think, man, you deserve to get blown up or eaten. It was great. There was some comedy there. I really had fun doing him too.
Yeah. So do you have anything coming up? I know you briefly talked about something you're working with that's coming out that's audio drama later on. Anything else that you can kind of promote or talk about yet that you want people to look for?
Well, I'm always doing audiobooks. I mean, not always, but audiobooks are fairly regular. I've got maybe another game going to happen next year in shooting in Brussels, I think. But this pandemic, coronavirus, has shut things down and kind of, thrown a monkey wrench in the works. It's pretty difficult. There are a couple of things which are maybe going to happen. I haven't got anything hard confirmed that's, because everybody's up in the air. Every single industry is kind of put the brakes on. My youngest daughter is, both my daughters are producers. And my youngest, she had 4 shows, 1 in Australia, 2 in Europe, and 1 somewhere else. And they just, thrown the brakes on all 4 of them. And everybody's sitting around looking at contracts and money and going, gosh, how are we going to play this? And nobody knows. Mm-hmm. We don't know how long it's going to go on. So there's big question marks. And in the meantime, I just, hang out, maybe do some writing. And I came close to producing a big series a couple of years ago, but and too long to go into here. So I keep myself busy doing other stuff. But to watch this space,
That's usually the way I like to kind of close these out is, what kind of conventions are you going to? What do you have you're working on? But really right now, all that's shut down. There's nothing going on. Everybody's just waiting. It's like strange times.
Very, very strange. But as we were saying before we got started, great time to do all those things that we, the hustle of our normal routines don't let us do.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be spending a lot more time with your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Me and him every day. Me and my son are every day. We're here.
Yeah.
He does this school. I do my things, and then we hang out in the evenings. And it's weird, but we make the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where can the fans follow you on social media? Are you active Instagram or Twitter or anywhere they keep up with you?
I'm pretty terrible at this. I gotta get better at this.
Me too, and I always say that too.
Because, I mean, I can hide behind my age because I just didn't. And some people are really good at it and love it. But I can definitely hit periods of being a recluse. I just read books and start to write, and I don't, I'm barely on Facebook, which and people say, what? You haven't got a website? I'm pretty, most of my stuff is industry stuff. I have a Twitter handle, but I don't use it. Social media, I'm pretty hopeless, Jeff. And people say, you should be on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. It's just, I can't say I'm that excited about telling people what I have for breakfast. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm just not very good at it. Maybe I'll get better. So you're saying, where can my fans find me? I don't know.
Just keep an eye out for the credits, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, maybe I should, sort of jump on it. But I guess I find my day-to-day life is so busy, and I spend enough time in front of screens as it is. And do I really want to stare into my phone more than I already am? Yeah, but, true. I'm not bad-mouthing it because for some people it's a real buzz and they really love it. And it's a very important part of people's social lives. And so what was this other thing? Cameo.
Oh, yeah, Cameo. Yeah.
People, and I've tried to set up a Cameo thing. And I couldn't get the software to work. I had a new laptop. And so I might be available on Cameo sooner rather than later. I'm going to have to start doing that. But maybe you're prodding me and I should look into this more.
I'm the same way. I'm horrible at social media.
Where would the ROE fans like to see folks? Is it pretty much Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, pretty much Twitter and Instagram are the two main ones. I know there's a lot of actors today that use social media as part of their resume in a way. This is my fan base, and it helps them get more projects later. So we encourage our fans to go follow them and give them support. But I'm just like you. I'm not very good at social media. My Facebook is limited to close friends and family. Yeah. My Twitter is non-existent. It's out there, but non-existent. Instagram's the same way. So
I've got IMDb, and I've got something called the Spotlight, which is on this side of the pond. And a couple other things, but that's kind of inside. It's for industry. LinkedIn, there's business stuff. So maybe
just keep an eye out for Cameo, I guess, when you make your appearance on there. And it's not that we have to have social media, but if you do, it's promotable. If not, it's understandable as well. Just if you guys want to support Bill, then go keep an eye out for movies that are coming out that he's in. So, do you have any closing thoughts for the fans? For the Resident Evil fans, Alien fans, people who are fans of you in general?
I just, it's, as I was saying before, it's just a privilege to be able to do what I do. And people say, what do you like best? Do you like movies? Do you like theater? I like good scripts, and I like having fun and actually enjoying. I think if people enjoy the work that you do, the odds are the audience is going to enjoy it. And I just follow my nose and end up doing the best scripts I can and the most fun work. And I love mocap and the voice stuff as well. I like doing both, which I do quite a lot of, which is, you do the action and then you get in the studio and do whatever's needed in post. And it's a great gig. And I would love to get to more conventions and meet people because that's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I'm going to take what you said and have a look at Instagram and stuff like that.
That's good. I mean, it's not necessary, but if it's something you ever wanted to do, I'm sure the fans would love to reach out to you and say hi and give them, their thanks for stepping into the character. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the interview and the chance to be able to talk more than just 5 minutes, which these things often are, 5 or 10. But it's great, Jeff. Thank you so much for getting in touch, and stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, hopefully this washes over sooner, but we don't know how it's going to go. And thank you for taking the time. I know you're across the pond over there. Your day is a little bit different from mine, so thank you for setting up the time for me here to talk and kind of get you connected to the fans.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Absolutely,
okay.
My pleasure. Jeff, take care. And I hope, who knows, we can meet someday at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Great.
We are hopefully working something down the road for the rest of the cast. We might do not a Comic-Con, but maybe a live stream with whoever cast members want to join in. We do some charity events on our channel. And
terrific.
The fans love it when we bring the guest on because that's live. So they can directly ask the questions through the chat. And we relay that to you so they get a live feedback. It's something that's special.
That's great. Neil and I in touch. Neil and I stay in touch. So he'll keep me abreast of what's going on. But that'd be great. I look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out. So thank you again, and thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this show, make sure you like and subscribe and share it with your friends. And thank you, Bill, for coming on here. It was a great pleasure to have you, and I'm really happy I got to talk to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Absolutely. Right back at you. Me too. And I look forward to when we can talk again.
All right, guys, that's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, please leave a like and subscribe for more interviews with the cast of Resident Evil 3. This episode of the ROE Podcast was brought to you by our patrons. Our Master of Unlocking patrons are Proxy One Creations, Trent Overton, Devin L. Duso, Christopher Cedric, Eddie Jr., Jarrell Moon, Iron Pear Studios, and Bailey Ritter. If you guys would like to help support the channel, head over to patreon.com/ROE Network. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residence of Evil.